Hi, Heather. You sound like a tiny mouse.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you're a little squeaky right now.
Hold on. Let me fix my hair.
Get your fancy bun in, your Halloween
My
bun.
fa my fancy bun.
I'm gonna be you for Halloween too. I really am.
Oh God.
Okay, I meant to do something before I called you. I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay.
I just wanted to screenshot your questions so that they're in a picture and I don't have to scroll and get all nuts.
Sam says hi, by the way.
Hi, Sam. Did you do Heather's meditation?
He said yes. There was a huge circle of them on their on a ship. They weren't on land. They were on a ship somewhere, and they were like, it looked kind of cool. There's all this white light that came out of their chests, and it went towards this huge ball that was up in the sky, and it had like a
Ah.
picture of like Earth in it. It was,
Oh, that's cool. They did like a, well, I guess we all did a collective one, but I mean, like they really did.
yeah, it's a huge circle, and like I astral traveled there. And then I didn't know where to go in the circle. They all seemed like really deep in their meditation. I didn't want to like squeeze in and like they get out of there.
Move. You're
No.
coming in. We
One,
break bones to get through here.
yeah. There was a woman who grabbed my hand and she guided me to an open spot. And I was like, thanks.
That's so trippy. Was my boyfriend there?
No. Sam says he's working since Sam is here. Um,
Ah, right.
and he's he said there's some like, families here and stuff. They want to be here
Okay.
for it.
Okay.
Hold on. I'll just start recording. Anyway, so there's we didn't even say hi. We've been
Oh,
talking before
hi.
this. Hi.
So
Okay.
anyway,
But anyway, what I was doing. Okay, so there's some Sarsahr family here, and they want to be here to talk about the history because that's the topic today.
yeah.
And
Okay.
they said that some parts of it's going to be really painful for them
Uh-oh.
to revisit because it's still fresh in their mind, even though
Okay.
it's happened like a long time ago. They're still
Okay.
very attached to their history, more so than humans are. The way
Interesting.
humans talk about World War II, they're just so emotionally detached if they weren't born during that time
That is
or lived.
absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, let me turn up your volume. Okay, so I'm ready. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, hold on. I'm very giggly today. I think it's Sam. He's very
Oh.
happy.
Oh, you guys are shiny.
Okay. I'm not all the way in.
Okay.
Just sit.
Okay.
Give me a moment.
Sure.
I moved her earphones. I was coming in.
Oop.
Her neighbors are very loud. Or not her neighbors, the people that live in the house with her.
Right, right. The roomies.
Yes.
I got noisy people out my door too today.
Hopefully they don't. Can you hear them?
It's very vague. If it's not distracting to you, it's fine on this end. Just,
Well, where is it?
or not.
Perhaps I should tell them to be quiet. Would that be rude?
No,
Okay.
go ahead. I think Josh knows. That's funny. Go do it. Go.
Hello. Hello.
Heather. it go?
Well, they look strange. Okay.
That was so interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anybody get up in the trance channeling and go do that. Thank you. I got a real kick out of that. So what did they think? Did they know? You're good for you. Oh, thank you. Well, hello, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm rather well. How are you?
I am. I'm doing good too, and I look forward to these sessions with you. I get. I don't know. I love them. They're so interesting to me.
It makes me feel very special.
Oh, well, you are my special friend. Okay, so today we're going to talk about your history a little bit, and I just I don't know. I heard that your people are a little bit sensitive about it, and I don't want to hurt feelers, so I just want to say
You
up front if
won't.
I say the wrong thing, I'm sorry, because I kind of did that yesterday a little bit with Avery, and I felt a little bad to your people. So I'm going to
It is all
apologize
right.
right now.
They are understanding that humans are different with their
Okay.
sense of humor. I explained that to them. So when they leave, it's just so they um, don't react in any way. They're
Okay.
fine now. The
All
ones
right.
that had gotten upset are not upset anymore. They
Okay,
understand.
good, because I was just pretending to be sassy, and I want them to know that that's not the real me. I'm
It
sassy, but
will take them. It will take them a minute, a while to get used to your humor, but they will.
okay.
They're understanding.
Because I want them to, take me to the mall. So we gotta have that date still. I gotta make nice. Okay, enough about me. Let me get into some of these questions. Heather and I both made some lists, but I liked hers better because they were just more thorough, and she has a better understanding and was more competent with her question asking. So I'm going to start with her first one, which is about the grays that you said you had contact with them. Which gray species was it? And she's got there's like a loaded question. Were they peaceful and had you accomplished space travel when they came along?
Forgive me in advance. I am in a human body, and your kind cries when you feel sadness.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Um, the Greys, we don't call them that. It's something we pronounce them differently, but you won't be able to understand it. They were not the peaceful ones. There are many different kinds, and we don't hate them all. It's just this specific kind, the ones that the humans don't like either because they're doing the same things to the humans, are the ones that take humans and they'll do experiments on them and not so kind things to
Right.
them. They're not there. There's other types that look similar to the Greys, and a lot of people mix them up, and they'll have more peaceful
Mm.
uh, interaction, and it's more of about um, coming into contact and sharing an experience rather than them taking you and injecting your body with weird things I can't even begin to describe to you. They were the first beings we had contact with, and before then we never had a military um,
Hmm.
of any kind. We didn't have any kind
Wow.
of. We were extremely peaceful people.
Yeah.
So when these well, we did accomplish space travel, but not deep space travel. We had just gotten to the point where we can rise above our clouds
Okay.
because how our planet is, it's incredibly dense, the atmosphere is. You can't see the stars, you can't see our sun,
Huh.
and it's a constant cloud over, you call it overcast, it's a constant
Okay.
overcast. And so we were able to rise above our clouds and fly around our solar system. But that's as far as we're able to go. Our space shuttles, spacecrafts, your UFOs, we were not very, they weren't very well built.
Okay.
And we were just starting out. And we don't know if it was because of our traveling or perhaps by chance that they found us around the same exact time, but they came and through the sky in a huge ship, and then there were 5 or 7 others that followed, and they landed, and we were accommodating to them. We asked them if there was, well, we tried in our own way. They could talk to us in our mind, and for us, that was new.
Okay.
Um, we asked them if they needed food or water. We assumed they would just be on their way. But they stayed and they wanted to use our resources, and we assumed maybe it was to help with their space shuttles. I like to call them space shuttles.
Okay.
And they started to create bases, and they didn't really mind asking us for our permission. Um, that's when we, as a group, decided to come together. My kind. We had a meeting, how we would approach this, and a group of us went over there to speak with them. And the entire dynamic of the relationship changed. They were planning to make a deal with us. Uh, they wanted they wanted access to our planet and to our people. In exchange, they would give us technology to help us with space travel.
Okay.
We didn't want them having access to our people. We didn't know why they wanted us.
Yeah.
So we said no. And they said we either get both or nothing. And so we told them to leave.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't leave. They said they did, but it was a few years later, which for us is probably 10 years, a couple decades later.
Okay.
We found them, and they were not, since we lived underground in the mountains, they lived above ground high in our trees. They created these type of homes that could be within the trees. And it was somewhere in a deep forest that we don't go to, because we haven't, we're in the process of killing off all the animals on our planet because they're extremely dangerous. And we don't go to that part of the planet because it was too dangerous for us. And so they knew that. Um, they, and that's when we found out they were still there, and we felt very disrespected.
Uh-huh.
And that's when things started to get hostile. We demanded them to leave, and we had to create weapons for the first time to use against an intelligent life. Usually we would just use things as defense. This time we were attacking first.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I was very unlike us, but we were extremely angered. And we didn't know at the time, and neither did the people having these experiences, that they were being abducted by
Uh-huh.
these beings and getting experimented on. We noticed that people were getting sick. Some people their bodies were getting bruised, and because we are so sensitive, a lot of them would die from this intense bruising. Some of them would wake up with broken bones, and we had no idea what was going on. And we figured ever since they arrived, this started happening.
Right.
So we put the 2 and 2 together. We had one person who remembered. That's all it took, was one person remembering, and we took their word for it. We're not like humans where somebody comes out and says, I had this experience, and they don't believe them.
Right.
We find that very, to trust your own people. And after that was all it took, was one person, and we decided to go to war with them. The experiments they were doing is the same exact things they're doing to humans. And we don't really know why.
Really? You can't even figure out a motivation for them to do this
Other
crazy
than
stuff?
they are
Like mad
they're
scientists?
wanting to create, right, they're wanting to test our abilities, the things that we're able to do. They want to combine our genetics with theirs. That's all I can figure. But it was very upsetting. The war was very upsetting. We were losing. A lot of our people died, more than half. In fact, our
Wow.
population went down. There was maybe only 10% of us left. They were winning, and we didn't know what to do. It was give in and let them experiment on us,
Keep
or we would
fighting.
be extinct.
Wow.
So thankfully, around this time, it was like our cries for help were heard by the universe, the world, and these three other beings came, these three other races. Um, there were you call them the Yael,
Yes.
um, you call them Palladians, and the other ones, the avian, the
Okay.
blue feathery ones,
Uh-huh.
they came to our aid. They all landed at the same time, and they at first were very hostile towards them, and then a Palladian man approached our leader of the time and gave them a wave of peace and connected with him telepathically and told him that they were here to help us, and they told us their history with the same species, and so we banded with them and we got rid of them. And in return, they told us we do need to be prepared for hostile situations. So they taught us to militarize our community, but only in order to keep ourselves safe
Right.
in case we ever needed to. And they taught us the peaceful way of traveling, to be one with everybody in the universe and not be selfish and um, take over planets and things like that. And they taught us in exchange for that and our promise to keep things peaceful and loving, they gave us access to high tech technology.
Oh.
And we were able to go into deep space travel since then with their help.
Wow, Sam, that was quite a story. Let me ask, what was your version of like your first primitive weapon? What was it? Because
We would make these. I'm going to try and compare it
okay,
to a plant on your planet, but
okay,
it's not exactly the same. It's sort of like a bamboo,
okay,
but it's much thicker. It has the girth of a one of your trees.
okay.
Um, we would cut them and we would sharpen them, and and we would put some type of clay around it,
Uh-huh,
and then cook it in that clay to harden it and make it more of a sword-like.
uh-huh,
It would make it turn a shiny green color with some brown
uh-huh.
in it. We don't make those anymore. We don't need them
Right.
anymore. But that was the start of it, and it was just we would use them as spikes that we would put in our surrounding communities to protect us from
Okay.
the animals above, because we were plant eaters our whole throughout our since
Existence.
we yes, we're plant eaters, and we had lots of carnivores on our planet, meat eaters that would eat our people.
Oh,
Um,
you were maybe not at the top of the food chain then.
no, we were not. So
Interesting.
we decided to not live above ground. We used to live in the trees,
Uh-huh.
but then they evolved, and they would be able to climb up the trees.
Oh,
And we didn't want to chance it, so we dug underground. And I suppose that's where our white color started to come in, because we never had full access above the in the ground, above the ground.
okay. And might one of these, I don't know how old it is. Is there like an artifact of one of those original
No,
bamboo clay thingies?
um, we don't have a need for that,
Okay.
for collecting our ancient artifacts. Only humans do that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm trying to learn about your culture, so there's no museums back at the home planet then.
no, we don't, we remember.
Okay. Okay. Oh. Gosh, you just went right through a bunch of those questions. Good for you.
I was there when she wrote them.
Okay, so perhaps they were yours. Just kidding. When did you? Okay, wait, no. Have you been in any other wars since that war with the Greys?
Yes, but there weren't all wars. There were wars that we were on that planet and we were living among the natives on the planet and they needed our help. Most of the time it was with the Greys. The Greys tend to come a lot. But the humans, the humans don't want our help with it. They actually agreed to the Greys, uh, their deal. And
Well, some of them did, but I don't know if all of us did. Huh.
yes, your species is so interesting the way you've broken apart. You're not as one. You each live, and I think it's because of how your planet is, your geography.
Hmm.
You have vast amount of oceans in between land masses, which
Hmm.
caters to the whole separation and not having contact with those that are across your ocean. Um,
Yes. We have
so
completely different cultures and ways of living, and we even look different.
I,
We're almost like
I
a,
find it, that's another thing. You look different because you're not all, humans are all hybrids,
uh-huh.
and each of you are a different form of hybrid. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Uh,
Okay. It's mutts. We're all mutts. Just kidding. Um, well, how did your species evolve? Because we came from some kind of chimp thingy. What did you guys come from? Where's your origin?
chimp.
Chimp thingy.
Mm, We, you don't have this animal. We came from well, we would have to trace it. That's the long tracement. We would have to trace it all the way back to us being this type of bacteria.
Mm.
But I'm not going to go that far back. We used to be on all fours, um, and we had not exactly as long of a tail. It was more of a stub,
Okay.
and we were never hairy. We were always very hairless. But we did have more hair, more so than we did now. About as hairy as humans are today. That's how we were.
It's a
Um,
real bother, let me tell you. Be glad that you evolved past that point.
and we would climb up the trees and eat the plants. Um, and we weren't like monkeys, so but we would climb down and we would run on the ground.
Hmm.
But we would sleep up in the trees or in burrows within the trees. Sometimes our trunks would split open
Hmm.
and we could sleep in the trunks.
Oh.
Um, but we were always so fragile. So we had to be very careful with the prey, even the bugs. Our bugs are very huge.
Wow. Give me a frame of reference. What's a big bug at your
Let's see. Well, we do have bugs that look similar to your beetles, your
okay.
regular black beetles that you have,
Uh-huh.
but they're as big as, say, a dog, or yeah, as big as a dog. Big black beetle flying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get your leash and take your beetle out for a walk. That's crazy. How long did you guys take to evolve to where you're at now?
Oh, millions of
Okay.
years. It took us a very long time.
And because you are in different planets, are different colonies of you different from another one? Did you take on any kind of characteristics just from atmosphere or anything else? I don't know. Like, did
Yeah.
gravity make you a different height or something on a different place?
Um, well, we always were together. Our planet's very big. It's much bigger than Earth's. But we never felt separated because we don't have big.
Mm.
Uh, uh, so uh, we're always one big group. We're always together. Even on the big planet, we never split off into different communities. We're always one big community, and we travel in a pack.
Okay.
Uh,
Hmm.
but I believe we were a bit darker skinned,
Hmm.
uh, but not too dark. More of a, I don't know how to explain it. It's a color you don't have on your planet. Um, I've never seen anyone with that skin color, but it wasn't a gray color. It was like a brownish gray. I'm not sure how to explain it. But as soon as we went underground and we lacked the sunlight, we turned very white, especially because we have these kind of minerals
Hmm.
um, that grow up on the ceilings, and they gave off this. They for some reason it made our skin color change. This exposure to these minerals, and now it's just how we look.
Hmm.
It's embedded in our all of in our DNA.
Okay. Oh, that is interesting. So you might change a little bit then. What does the sun do to you? Do you wear sunscreen? Does it bother you?
No, our planet's very hot because of how dense the air is and as big our sun is and how close it is.
Hmm.
Well, our planet isn't so close to our sun, but our sun is huge.
Okay.
Um, that we don't need to be that close in order to feel the effects of it. It's constantly summer.
Really? Do you
Yeah,
appreciate the seasons being here? Although Nevada really only has, it's not
no,
a radical change, but
no, no. We have seasons, but they're not quite as dramatic as on Earth, if that makes sense. It doesn't
oh
get too
yeah,
cold.
right. Well, even on Earth, it's mellow on one part and just a huge change. Did you ever get to experience our seasons, like on the East Coast or something, when it gets so beautiful and orange and the leaves
We
change?
um, we have different bases on different parts of your planet, but when it starts to get cold, we stay underground. We don't
Okay.
go above ground because we get sick very easily.
You'll have to YouTube it then. That's really something special. Okay, what was the what was the first planet that you went to, and did you colonize that one, and why?
Oh no, we didn't colonize it. It was one of the planets near our solar system, but it wasn't. It couldn't sustain our life
Okay.
on it. It had a different form of life on it. It was more of like a bacteria
Uh-huh.
that lived on it, but we could not live on it. But we
Was that
went
just for
there.
practice, like us taking off to
Yes,
Okay.
it was nearby. Yes,
Okay.
it was nearby.
And how about the first one you did colonize, and why did you do that? Why did you leave?
Um, we wanted to go deeper into space, and we were just exploring. And then
Okay.
we have these type of machines that we would kind of as satellites we would shoot out to the planet when we got close enough to see if it was habitable, whether or not we could land on it.
Hmm.
Um, and when it we would get the results back saying yes, you can. It's this much oxygen, whatnot. We would land. There was one that was right outside our solar system that had these very tall ape-like beings that walked on 2 feet. They're extremely hairy and muscly and intimidating looking,
Yikes.
but they were peaceful. They We landed, and from our experience with the grays, we make sure not to be imposing on
Yeah.
them.
Oh.
When they came into contact with us, we asked them permission if we could stay in that area, and then we worked from there. That was the first time we ever made contact with other intelligent life, and we were very scared. Um,
Are you still
we didn't
there
know.
and living in harmony with
Yes,
these people? Oh. Do you
yes.
interact with them, or is it kind of separate?
We live among them now. At first, it was separate,
Uh-huh.
and only a select few of our leaders on both sides would interact together. But now we live among them, and we don't have to hide. And that's how it is with every planet we're on,
Oh.
except for Earth. We're still working
Oh
on it.
my gosh. We got some work to do. And tell me about these other, like your interactions with others. And um, I'm not coming from a place of judgment, just curiosity. Over, here on Earth, intellectually, we're kind of equal. We can communicate, we can have a conversation. But is there that evenness in other places, or is it like way off? Like talking to your giant beetle or something.
Sometimes there's a loss in translation. I will compare it to humans so that you understand. Sometimes we don't understand your humor.
Right?
Sometimes you don't understand. You don't talk. We talk literally, and sometimes you use phrases, terms that. What's your term for it? Beat around the bush.
There you
You know,
go.
things like that. And we had a hard time because, and we have our own as well that we don't realize.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how we can get lost, but it's not that we don't get angry about it. We just ask them what they mean. It's a very
Right.
simple question of what do you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Because come on, there's misunderstanding sometimes. Clear that up. It's okay.
Hmm.
Um, so how long, well, let me see. Let me ask this question. This is one of mine. Can you tell me about a significant leader in your history? Did you have a leader in the sense that we have leaders?
No, but uh, one human I remember asked this question that do you have your form of Jesus on your
Ah,
planet?
uh-huh.
In a way, we do, but it's not one person, it's a collective. Our nearby cousins, the Arcturians,
Yeah.
is what humans call them. And they're planets centered around the star Arcturus,
Uh-huh.
and which is our neighboring star. We're on a smaller star that's near
Okay.
it. And they came to us when we were just beginning to walk on 2 feet and beginning to understand how to make weapons. And we still remember that contact with them, and they helped us a lot.
Oh,
Um, and they taught us our spirituality that we have today. They taught it to us of what it means to be in the universe and the idea of all of us being one.
uh-huh.
But we've translated that to these are gods, much like humans did. And so
Ah.
we had different gods
Uh-huh.
for the different Arcturian types that came to us because they all looked very different. There's some that are blue, some that are all white, and so we'd say, oh, those are the different types of Arcturian gods, and of course we didn't call them Arcturian, but
Right. Well, tell me, I
um,
want to hear more stories like this. This is interesting to me. Give me a
um, um,
like a favorite, a specific or a favorite of a quote God.
there was a blue one, a woman that would helped with fertility with our women, and taught us what it's meant to be a woman and to be a mother.
Hmm.
That was our favorite one,
Hmm.
and we had a little shrine for her. Um, we didn't make these huge temples or anything. They were about maybe they probably were this big
Okay.
and not not impressive, but we weren't much of builders. We were more of
Okay.
diggers and miners.
Okay.
So we would make it out of this type of stone that we have and some clay that when it dries up, it gets as hard as a rock.
Okay.
We would make different shrines for each of them, and they'd be above land. And we circled them around this point where our stars are,
Hmm.
and where you can see Arcturus so close, and we'd have them facing Arcturus.
Oh. And what did she think of this honor? Was she aware of it?
I believe she was. They didn't consider it a great honor. It was more of they understand that that's how we give our thanks.
Okay.
Um, they said that wherever they made contact with more primitive species, they've all done something similar.
Huh.
Uh,
Interesting.
it's just, you know, and humans are still in that phase. They worship Jesus, this human who had this advanced knowledge of the universe, and you worship this Jesus. And to us, we take that as you're still very primitive, but
Hmm.
this is how you best give your thanks and how you best learn. Which we're not saying it in a judgment way. It's just how
Right.
we process things as a human.
Yeah, that interests me very much that there's so many people that still go with that theory of Jesus being the Son of God and all of this stuff.
And
It's
I think I've studied your different religions to understand humans' logic.
mhm.
And I like to make the comparison to my own. The most that we're similar to were the ancient Egyptians. That was the closest.
Okay.
But your Christians are so different. Um, the way you, Jesus says, I suppose the Son of God, as is everyone is the son
Right.
or daughter, since you all come from God,
We
you
are
come from
God. We're
it, you come from the one. We all do. We come from the one.
let's say you gotta tread lightly when you talk about this stuff because we're still in the middle of that stuff. Even though the people watching this will be that much, a little bit have more understanding, but still, people are all over the place in their
You're
understanding.
very sensitive about your beliefs because
Hmm.
you feel that it'll disempower you if someone disagrees with you or questions it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's true. So it's
Very defensive.
hmm okay. I'm gonna ask now about maybe you have a story or maybe two about a significant moment in your history that sort of, I'm gonna say changed history, but didn't really change it. It just, I don't know. You know what I mean? Something really big that happened in your, like for example, when the Greys came, that was a really big significant thing. Something else.
A big storm that it wasn't really a storm, it was more of a astrological event. Something happened outside our atmosphere that at the time we couldn't comprehend it, what was happening, because we didn't have space travel. We couldn't go above our clouds and see what was happening. We didn't even get any warning of it because we can't see the
Wow.
skies.
Scary.
Yeah. It was like a asteroid, like a what do you call them? The asteroid showers,
Well,
or
we would call it a meteor shower.
there we go. It was like that, but they were hitting our planet. And instead of going right above our atmosphere, they were hitting us. And it happened on the complete opposite end where we're at. And
Hmm.
our planet's very big, but it caused a huge difference in our weather and
Wow.
how our land completely changed. The vegetation died off. We had to migrate and move, and a lot of us died in the process because of the air change.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when we wanted to go to the site where it happened, and we some of us did and couldn't understand what was happening. But the one positive thing that happened from it was that within these meteors that fell, or inside and a part of the rock were these kind of minerals that brought a whole new life to our planet that we didn't even know we needed.
Wow.
Yes,
Explain.
it brought in more water for us and more vegetation for because our planet was getting very scarce and more carnivores were being it's our what did you call it, your chain, your food
Our
chain
food chain. Yes.
was very unbalanced. We
Uh-huh.
were very low on vegetation. There was more dry cracked land. Our deserts look different than your deserts, but they're still very hot, and there was literally nothing anywhere,
Wow.
and we were dying, and we were having to learn how to eat the seeds in the ground. That's where we became seed eaters and dirt eaters. We'd eat the smallest little bit of minerals that you could find.
Wow. Dirt eaters. Mud pies.
And we would we would make these meteor these meteors came with the life that we needed to bring to this planet, um,
You
well, to
found the
our
silver
planet.
lining. That is interesting.
Yes.
And um, well, I spoke to you one time and you were telling me about, we were just talking about money. And I'm not going to ask about money, but one of the things you mentioned was going on a vacation. You kind of need some
Mhm.
funds for that. Where
Yes,
would your people go on a vacation right
to a
now?
neighboring planet.
Well, tell me about it. Like, is it like a beach resort? What would you do on your vacation at a different
We
planet?
just go to another base and see other. We all think of each other as one big family. So you would see your other family that lives there, and they would show you around and have you meet the natives. On Earth, though, there's so much. Some of us who live on Earth don't leave Earth because we could just go across the ocean and be an entirely different culture in a different
Yeah.
place. So I enjoy Spain the most. That's
Huh.
where I go. And there's this little lake up in these mountain areas during the summer that I like to be around. I don't like to go swimming. I like to stare at the water.
I do too. I do like to float though.
Yeah, our people don't float. We have no buoyancy, so we can't swim.
Really? No buoyancy? Oh,
Mm-mm.
I'll get you some arm floaties and I won't put them too tight. Hmm. Can you tell me something? Well, just for a story, because I just want stories right now. And I remember one time you were telling me one of the first contacts you had with a human was that family that was going across in a covered wagon. Do you know what I'm talking? Okay, for me, that's like that covered wagon is really old fashioned and kind of archaic, or just the way they lived. So give me an example of a time in your history that has nothing to do with anything that you do right now. Like you kind of did with the tools, but tell me something else that's from a long time ago that just feels ancient to you.
Mm, the the minerals we would have
Hmm.
up in our ceiling,
Hmm.
we would drink the water that would drip down from it, and it was or we would collect the water. That we would have these a big. We dug in a big pool area that the where a big cluster of them were, and all the water would drip down, and that's where we got our water source underground.
Uh-huh.
Mm, but to me that's ancient because we don't have to do that now.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when,
You got cave
uh,
plumbing.
yes, cave plumbing.
What's the
Yes,
water
now we
like
have.
over there? I mean, what is your water like the same as our water on that other planet? Like the same?
It depends on where you're getting your water. If you're getting it above ground in those lakes, they're going to be a bit dirtier, so you have to clean them. If they're coming from the crystals,
Mm-hmm.
the minerals underground, they're going to be much clearer, much cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a different taste to them,
Mm. I bet they taste better with that those minerals in it.
and it's much healthier. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. All right, Sam. Well, Heather and I have gone through all of our questions, but I invite you to share because sometimes we don't even know what questions to
Yes,
ask.
we have something we would like to say.
Okay.
We have been making contact with a lot of humans that are interested, and a lot of people have been either denying us visiting or they don't remember at all.
Uh-oh.
And all I'm saying is if you want to make contact, just put the intent out there. We feel it, and we are doing it. We are seeing you. I have this huge group of volunteers that are here, and they surround me now, and we're very excited for this new step with humanity to make contact and live among you.
Yes, I have my own contact going on and I am aware of some of it and I'm really enjoying it. It just makes me feel I don't know, it just feels real special. I mean,
Yes,
I
and it
value my
makes
friendship with you. I value my friendship with Avery. I love these connections from all over the place and I love this part when last time we spoke and I had to go to my other show with Allison and you and the teacher and Avery popped in over there and God gave us a big thumbs up for what we're doing. So we can't get a bigger endorsement than from God. So yay for us.
also I want to say that a lot of people are expecting physical contact from us. That is unlikely to happen.
Mhm.
It's just not that we don't think anyone unworthy. It's not that. It's just it takes a lot of time and energy on our part, and we have to be more careful. It's just easier for astral contact. So expect contact in a way that you expect something from a spirit, but much easier on our part. We're able to manipulate physical objects much easier.
Oh, so I didn't understand that you guys could do it easier than them. And also I want to point out too that for you guys, it's as valid. An astral contact is just as valid as a physical contact.
Right.
So, and you're very
The
proficient at it too.
Yes, and the fact that humans don't think so, that's not our problem. We're not gonna stop being careful just for your sake. Yet we have to think about our people as well and to not step on toes in your military because they're wanting us to proceed very slowly with this.
Well, I also think too in our group is that we're practicing. We want to learn how to do that astral stuff.
That
So
too,
it's
we could
really
be your
nice to have,
teachers.
yeah, really good, they're being patient, they're there, they're available. So there you go with that too. Hmm. All right, Sam, should we wrap this up?
Yes,
You got
yes,
anything else? All right. Thanks again. I liked hearing all your stories and stuff, and I always love talking to you and say hi to my friends for me, will ya?
I will.
All right. Talk to you later, Sam. Bye.
Goodbye. Mm,
You're always
hi.
spacey for about 10 seconds and then you snap right out of it.
Hi.
There she
Wow.
is. How do you feel?
Good. I'm good.
Good. It was a good
My
one.
posture is always super straight when I come back with him because he sits so much better than how I sit 'cause I'm all
I
slunched.
know, I'm slouchy too. Just kidding. Yeah, hey, it was really good. We got through all of the questions and I was just trying to pull stuff at the end. I wanted more interesting stuff, but I lost it all. So he volunteered some information about connecting with people and we went a little bit with that and it was a really nice chat. So, thank you for that. I love hanging out with Sam.
He's so sweet. I don't know what our other topic should be with them.
I don't know. I invite people to go ahead and throw some suggestions down at the bottom of this post. What do you want to
Yep.
hear from Sam?
They're probably gonna. Sam's already thinking about questions they're gonna be asking. Like he's saying, humans want to talk about themselves.
That's true. I always try to make it all about me.
Yeah.
All right, Heather. I'm going to sign out.
Okay.
I'm going to
Hold
shut this
on.
video and I'll talk
I
to you.
just I'll turned off the video already.
Oh, you did? Okay. Bye. Just kidding.
Well, I don't know if you would be game or if you wanted to take a break for now or whatever. But I was thinking of trans channeling James, but I don't know
I would
like
love to.
what I would say or like what the questions would be.
I
Um,
don't know. We can just because I got to be honest. I do kind of better a lot of times with just being without a plan. I have enough, behind me. Who are you, and when did you hook up with Heather, and what is this about, and how come you were gone for so long, and where do you come from, and all these things. So it can stretch out. Sam went ahead and just, the first question I asked him, he answered like the next five questions in a row in his one long thing. So then I looked down to ask the next, oh, uh-oh, I'm almost out of questions. But it was okay. It was okay. It worked out.
I'm sorry. Well, if we were
No,
gonna
it's
do
okay.
that, I'd want to like pee. I have to pee.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll take a break.